Hey everybody, we're back with another episode of Name in Progress. With me, Georgie, as always, and my lovely, ugly counterpart, Baker.
Whoa, that
Um,
got weird and insulting all at the same time.
yeah,
Right
it's,
up front.
it's a little later for us today, and Baker, you can tell because Baker doesn't look as tired as he usually is. Cody, on
Yeah.
the other hand, is up very early. We've got Cody Miller here with us. And he has obviously got Kickstarter on the go just now. He created Legends of a Drift system, which if you haven't heard of right now or by now, you should definitely go and check it out because if you haven't heard of it by now, you probably haven't been on Board Game Geek for ever, basically. So I think we'll just start off by talking about maybe what we've been playing recently, like we always do. Baker, do you want to take us away with that?
Well, to be honest, what I've been playing recently is Xia Legends of a Drift System. I actually just got my hands on it. I'm looking at my recent plays here to see what else I've got in there. But yeah, Xia got, in case you can't tell, I've got like a animal or something behind the curtain here. Either that or
Yeah,
a small child.
that.
Might be a small child. Played some Xia, played some Seven Wonders Duel,
How
which
was Seven
is
Wonders
fun.
Duel?
Seven Wonders Duel is a lot of fun. I've only played Seven Wonders once. I played
Okay.
Duel a lot. The wife and I have played that back and forth a good bit, and that's a lot of fun. It's pretty quick and easy to pick up, but then at the same time, if you want to, there's tons to strategize as far as, because you can see some of the cards that are going to be coming up, and then you have to decide if it's worth risking uncovering other cards, that your opponent could take, and that would be beneficial for them, because you go back and forth constantly. So you always have to be careful what you uncover.
You're still kind of drafting like Seven Wonders, because I mean we love Seven Wonders, but I haven't played Duel yet.
Well, yeah. So the way they make, because obviously drafting with two players can be tricky. Tides of Time is the only other game I know of that's two players that has drafting, and with Tides of Time, it's the typical drafting. You pass cards back and forth. With Seven Wonders Duel, you actually lay the cards out, and I know that's two players that have drafting. And well, I'm getting typical drafting. You pass cards back. I don't know if anybody else can hear that. I'm getting myself twice now. Though. I'm hearing like a 30-second delay on my voice.
Yeah, that's okay. That was potentially me just checking the live stream was working.
Oh,
so
okay. All right, cool.
I'm not going to take full responsibility for that, but it might have been me. That's all.
Okay. So with Seven Wonders Duel, you lay the cards out in like a pyramid fashion for the first age, and the second age is a slightly different pattern, and third age is a different pattern. But when you lay it out, the only cards you can pick from are the ones that are fully uncovered so far.
That's
so you choose from that row, and then the next row up, not only are they not uncovered, but they're also face down. But then the row above that is face up, so you can see some of the ones you're getting to, but then others you don't even know what they're going to be when you flip them over. Okay. So as you start uncovering them, you're freeing stuff up for yourself, but also for your opponent. So that's where kind of the strategy comes in.
Yeah, that's
a lot of fun. It takes about 30 minutes, to play, especially once you know what you're doing. But yeah, we like that one a lot. So got a game of Lords of Zedidin, a good bit of Red 7. So things have, that's kind of what I've been playing lately.
Nice. As far as Seven Wonders Duel goes, that game's phenomenal. If you're interested in ever just playing a two-player game, Cody, check it out because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I prefer Seven Wonders.
Yeah, I will.
I think it's just because I think sometimes Seven Wonders can maybe drag a little bit, just with the depending on how many players there is, really. But
really?
yeah,
See, that's one of our fastest games when we get a big group. It's like it's over in half hour, and you've played with 7 people. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it really takes long. It just feels like it drags a little bit. I don't know if it's just because like there's by the time all the cards are going around, sometimes you just don't have a clue where you're going to get it. Essentially, the game has like quite a lot of randomness to it, but it's there is still a bit of planning as well. But I just feel like it can sometimes drag a little. But Seven Wonders Duel does not for me at all. It's just like a constant because you know what your plan is and you can see some of the cards ahead, but you can't see all of them. So it's really, really interesting. It's probably the best two-player drafting game that's out there.
Really? Okay. Awesome.
Cody, what have you been playing?
Man, I've been playing a lot of games. Let's see. As far as two-player games, my wife and I play Jaipur. We just got that. I know it's an older one, but that one we've been having a lot of fun with that.
I
Yeah.
keep hearing about that one, and it's one of those games where the theme, like I look at it, I'm like, I don't think I'd like this game at all, but everybody that talks about it has nothing but good things to say, so I feel like I've got to play it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, theme-wise, it's not a heavy theme. You're just a trader in India or something like that.
Okay.
It's it's a game like my wife and I would play just like 5 crown or something with playing cards.
Mhm.
Usually and this takes like setup wise is super minimal. You just set out a few tokens and make sure they're in the right order. But the play strategy is really fun, and it's over quick enough that because we've got kids, so we'll put the kids down, and we still have enough brain power to get through
Right.
Jaipur.
I know all about that for sure.
So that's fun. I started a Dice Masters League for my board game group.
Oh, cool.
So we got into Dice Masters maybe a month and a half ago. Somebody
How
bought.
big's your group, and how many people are playing that specifically?
So my usual group was 3 other people. So usually it's just 4 of us.
Okay.
But since we started Dice Masters, we've sort of pulled in other people. So we're up to about 8 people in our league.
Nice.
And, oh man, it's so fun. So we meet like at Starbucks. Georgie, a Starbucks is like a coffee shop, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, we have Starbucks. They don't pay taxes over here too.
Okay. Yeah, so
Is there
we meet
anywhere
at Starbucks
Starbucks
and
is
take
not?
over.
Wow.
They've got a huge table. We take it over, and everybody in our tiny town walks by and goes, "What are you guys doing, you nerds?" So that's super fun.
Yep.
And I got to play Food Chain Magnate. Or Magnet, I don't know how you say that. And that
I
game,
think it goes either way, but I want to play that game too. That looks incredible.
oh my gosh, yeah, my friend got it. I've been trying to trade people copies of Zaya for it on Board Game Geek. Just hey, but nobody's been biting. And then
Well,
my
what you
friend
need to do, you need to artificially lower the amount of Saya out there. You know, just like, oh, we
oh
have
sure.
the warehouse flooded. I don't know what to
Sold
tell you. I got this one though, so if anybody
Yeah.
can give me Food Chain Magnet.
But man, Food Chain Magnet just seems really really cool. I love that you're. We just played the basic game, but we're gonna get into the more deep game here coming up. But man,
Also, there's 2 different ways to play. I didn't realize they had a basic rule set.
yeah, well, they have like when you first play it, just because you can totally screw yourself over and there's so much depth to it, just play the basic so that they cut out a lot of the rules. You don't have to pay any
Okay.
of your employees, and it doesn't have any of the milestones in the basic game. I
Okay.
don't even think it's a basic game. I think it's just like a learning game. So we
Like
didn't
a
even finish it.
tutorial or something. Okay.
Yeah. So we just like played with it, but I love like how you're um, like drafting all your actions, I guess, or like I don't know. It's really cool. So you have to get employees, but then you have to pay these employees, and your employees are what you can do on your turn, and it's so cool. And then just like the whole aspect of advertising. It's like, okay, I've got all this food, but no one will come and eat unless I advertise. But
Wow.
I was thinking, oh, okay, well, I advertise for my company, but you don't advertise for your company. You advertise for a like type of product. So like, okay, I advertise for lemonade. Now the people nearby want lemonade, but they don't care where they go to get lemonade. So like, I advertise for a bunch of lemonade, and then they all go and to my competition store and like eat all his, and so like I just screwed myself over. Like, oh, it's really really genius. I love it.
Is that a splatter game or is that?
Yeah, it's
It-
Splatter.
I don't even know what that means. I just always hear people talk about splatter games and how they're like super in depth and awesome. But is that a company? What is that
Yeah,
exactly?
I believe.
Do you know?
Yeah, it's a publishing company, and
Okay.
I think sort of their mantra is like really poor graphics but really tight game. So like, I don't know if poor is the right word. They're definitely not like flashy graphics.
Right.
Like it's super basic, but like everything, at least for this game, everything really looks crisp, and it's like just looking at the board, nothing's confusing. There's no confusing artwork. So I
Right.
would say it's more like Spartan artwork. Like this is just what you need to play. We're not giving you a lot of frills. But I mean, at the same time, they've got like each player has a cool little like logo for their their food chain restaurant. So it's like, oh, I'm the Duck Dynasty or Duck Diner or something like that, and you're the, I don't know, Hamburgers R Us or something like that. So that's cool.
Cool. What about you, Georgie?
I've been playing a lot recently because of the whole UK Games Expo and everything else. Just let me just I had a shot at the new Dark Souls game.
Oh, how was that?
How was that? Because I've been feeling iffy about that one.
It was
Yeah.
really, really, really hard. It was
That makes sense.
just like the video game is. I guess I've not played much of the video games really,
Okay.
but
Oh
it's
man, I love the video games.
really, really solid game. There's like a really cool mechanic. So basically, they just had like a boss fight set up. So they
Okay.
were just you can play like one player, two player, and just basically try and kill this big boss. I'm not exactly sure of his name, and I'm sure people will hate me for that. But the minute it was like really awesome. It was probably about that size. Like
Did you have a giant hammer?
no, he had like a big sword, I think potentially. He was like really tall and really skinny, and
Oh,
kind of
okay.
long legs and stuff. But
Long leg.
it's really cool because like you're like jumping in, like the movement spaces aren't like a normal dungeon crawl style of game because the movement spaces are just like individual areas that you can go to on the board. So they're just like little circles. You can just move between
Okay.
them. But he also uses them to move as well.
Hmm.
And
So it's not a grid-based system at all.
no, not at all. No.
It sounds a little bit like Tannhauser had circles that you would move to. I haven't played it, but I've like thought about buying it, so I've looked at the board.
Yeah,
Tannhauser would have specific circles you can move to around the kind of
yeah.
area.
It's not like that because I know like Tannhauser has like it's like alleyways and stuff, and you're moving in circles. This is just like say like one board only has like 10 to 12 spots that you can actually move on to, but you like run and then you hit, and then you have to sort of stand there if you hit, or like next turn you can like hit and run away. But like you use like just standard six-sided dice to try and hit. Some of them have got blank sides. Some of them have got like ones and threes on them, ones, twos, and threes, but there's no actual four, fives, or sixes on the dice. And the boss's life is just like enormously big, and you've got to try and hit him. And then he can like the boss draws cards for his movement, right? So he'll draw a card and it'll say, okay, the boss will hit everyone who's behind him for 3 damage. And then say you'll draw another card and it'll be like the boss moves forward 1 space, moves right to moves left to another space, and then hits everyone in the front 3 spaces for 3 damage. So like he does, it's like programmed moves exactly like what a video game would be like. And then there's like a heat up card. So I believe like the video game, once you get them down to half health, you put these cards into his deck, and then you reshuffle. When you draw like one of these heat ups cards, he'll be like, move forward, hit everyone for 3 damage. Turn left, move forward, hit everyone for 3 damage. Turn left, so it's like do a big square and just like annihilate everyone. So it's like
cool.
really, really intense. So yeah, I went into a bit too much detail with that probably, but yeah, played that with Steam Force games. I had a shot at the networks.
That looks cool.
Oh yeah, the where you're sort of running your own cable company.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's done by Gilhova, Formal Ferret Games, but it's you're running your own failing TV company with like really poor shows on it to start with, and then what ends up happening is you like start employing better actors, hiring better shows, like like doing all this, and then putting them in certain time slots. So there's like an 8 p.m., a 9 p.m., and a 10 p.m. time slot on your channel, and
very cool.
some actors work better at like 8 o'clock. Some will work better. Some shows do a lot better at 10 o'clock. But also turning your channel into like a consistent channel, for example. So say you want to make your channel like Comedy Central, and then so you would be like trying to get all the comedy shows, or you make your channel like I don't know a Eurosport or like a sports channel, and you would try and get all the sports programs on. But for every program that you put on, some of them require things like certain amount of money to put them on. Some of them will require things like an actress of above a certain level, so that you can put them on. But you can still like put these actresses and like things onto like other channels, but they just don't score as well. So you like flip the cards over, and they've got like a worse score that you lay underneath. It's a really, really fun game. And I put money on Gil having a lot of fun making up some of the cards, man, because they're all like just total rip-offs of other TV shows, but just like total fun at them. Like it's really, really funny. So yeah, I played the networks.
In that, is it competitive? Like, are you competing for viewers? Like, oh, okay, if I go at the 9 o'clock and you go at the 9 o'clock, we're going head to head for a certain number, or is it more kind of like Agricola, where it's like I'm just building my thing?
Yeah, you're just doing your own thing.
Okay.
The only thing that kind of affects you is like there's like a player order, so whoever gets to decide to go first.
Okay.
And then whoever backs out that season first sort of gets like more money, and then because it goes through like 4 or 5 seasons depending on how many players you're playing with, and then you're just trying to get points basically. But it's a really, really fun game. I really, really enjoyed it, and Gil sold out at the networks in the UK Games Expo, so hopefully he does just as well in the next couple of expos or conventions that he goes to. Actually, Formal Feta is definitely at Origins, but I don't know how many copies of the networks they've got with them, because essentially he was just doing like mostly the Kickstarter handouts.
Okay.
At UK Games Expo, but he had like 60 extra copies, but they all went. It was super awesome.
What kind of playing time are you talking about with that game, would you say?
Well, we played it with 5 people. No, 4 people, and all of us were learning the game. So
Right.
I don't know if I could really give like a real specific time scale, but I reckon you could get it done in an hour.
Really? Okay. Cool.
Nice.
It's an hour,
And
20 minutes.
Isn't there a second one that's similar? They were both on Kickstarter, like at the same time. I don't remember.
Yeah, it does seem like there was another TV one out there. It's funny how that happens, because when Penny Press came out, there was Penny Press and then another newspaper one.
Yeah.
Extra Extra, I think is what it was called, or something like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, it doesn't seem like there was another TV one as well. But the net,
Yeah.
But the
I can't
network.
remember. But,
the network is
but
the
yeah.
one that keeps coming up that I keep hearing about.
Yeah, it's awesome. You guys should definitely check that out, especially when it goes to food.
It's on my wish list for sure.
Yeah. I've been playing Onitama, so 2-player abstract. Really, really enjoyed that, and I just got a review up of that today as well, so that was pretty interesting. I am going to be on the Dice Tower on Throat Punch Lunch.
Oh, cool.
So I've got a segment for that booked, so I've been doing a lot of filming for that too.
Awesome.
I'm not going to talk about what games I'm going to talk about in there, because that would be that's ruining the surprise a little.
No spoilers.
I've played Ember as well, the Stuart Garside game. That's just like
You've been
a
loading
really
up lately. Wow.
little. Yeah, I've been playing loads of games, but it's a really, really short, but at the same time, like very luck driven to start with. But the longer you go through, the more it's like the more difficult the choices become as to what monsters you want to take. And essentially, you're just spending these cards out of it. You're drawing cards from a deck, spending cards with like the same face or the same number on them, and then you're spending those cards to buy certain monsters, and all those monsters then come into your like field, and then you flip like all the monsters have different powers, but you flip them over when they're used, and they all have a point value as well. So once you get to 40 points, the game's over, and you're just essentially sort of amassing an army of monsters. Really short, but really, really sweet. I proper enjoyed it, and I played Xayah, Legends of a Drift System, as well. So,
Awesome.
so I don't really think I need to describe too much about Xayah, Legends of a Drift System, because I think Baker's about to ask you a few questions, not only about but about a little Kickstarter you've got running just now as well, Cody. So, Baker, do you want to take that away?
Okay, yeah, well, so obviously, as we've mentioned several times, Cody, you are the creator of Xayah Legend of the Drift System. You have the expansion currently up on Kickstarter. It's doing okay. We're thinking it's probably going to fund before it's over.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, it's doing fantastic. It's almost about to match, maybe, the base game, which is pretty crazy for an expansion.
Yeah,
considering that the
wild.
expansion is actually half the price of the base game, and it's about to match it, so... and then you also have that other game, and I never can pronounce it. The
Oh,
surfing game. How do you pronounce it?
Tavarua. Tavarua.
Tavarua. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's a little island in Fiji.
oh, okay, all right. Well, and yeah, and so you have that one, which also funded on Kickstarter, and is it out yet,
Yeah.
or is it out to the backers?
Um,
Or?
it is so like the shipment to Europe and the shipment to the U.S. are currently like on giant boats,
Yep.
slowly
Those
making their
giant
way.
boats just
Yeah,
aimlessly wander out there. It seems like sometimes.
yeah. But like the people in Asia, the backers in Asia should be getting theirs this week, and Australia will be getting theirs soon too, because they were air
Cool.
freighted. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, so you got a pretty good track record so far on Kickstarter. Zaya obviously is your big one. Now, let's kind of go with some background on Zaya. Where did you when did you first start thinking about doing this game, and where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so it was actually a really kind of weird. So like my background is video games. I grew up playing video games, and then when I was I think 20, around 21 years old, uh, I was engaged to my now wife, and I thought I need to take a break from video games for the year. So I took a year off playing video games, and about a quarter of the way through that year, my wife bought me a board game, and I hadn't played board games since I was, yeah, like Monopoly or something like that. Board games. But she got me this game called Dread Pirate, which is it's a super light, really simple game. There's a grid, and you can move your like the component quality is super awesome. Like the ships are metal, the map is like cloth, like looks like it, and it comes in a pirate chest. So it just like looked really cool. And I played it, and I was like, I can't believe, like, this game is, like, everything was really, really simple, like, total gateway, like, I think people on BGG would probably scoff at the rules. It's so, like, light and dice heavy, but I had a lot of fun. I was like, I can't believe board games are like this. Are there other games out there? And, like, some of the video games I had loved were, like, Freelancer and Escape Velocity, where it's basically Zaya. So you are the captain of your own small ship, and you start out and you're trading and you're attacking stuff, and you get bigger and better ships. And so I was like, oh man, if there's a board game like that, that'd be so cool. I looked around, and this was over 10 years ago now, and like I didn't know about Board Game Geek, and the search engine optimization back then, like it didn't pop up. So I ended up like, hey, I can make a board game. That's easy. Like I've always wanted to make video games.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is easy. I could make a board game. So I just started. Yeah, like the first thing I did was make a bunch of miniature ships and paint them. And I was like, all right, now I've got to make some rules. And
so the ships came first, huh?
The ships came first. I was like, oh, I really want to have cool looking ships. And yeah, so I ended up spending about 8 years working on it just as a hobby. Like I'm gonna just like, so I don't get done with school or work, and then just spend a couple hours like working on rules or writing missions and trying to perfect stuff. And that was just sort of my hobby for 7 or 8 years. And it got to the point where it was like, this is really fun to play, and when I'd get together with my friends, they would want to play it. So like that was a really good sign. And then like rather than like, hey, everybody, please let's do another play test so that I can. It was more like, hey, can we play this again? I'm like, okay, sure. And so we just had so much fun with it that
it's definitely a sign you're heading in the right direction when people are requesting to play it.
Yeah, and I mean these are the kids who'd be over at my house, 2 or 3 times a week, and we'd play Settlers and stuff like that, and they'd keep asking to play it. So yeah, it was kind of like they encouraged me. They're like, you should see about publishing it. So I don't know if I'm getting too long-winded here.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, so basically, like, I've been keeping an eye on Kickstarter. This was like before board games had really gone on Kickstarter. So I started meeting with manufacturers, and they said, yeah, this is really cool. You need to do cardboard stands, and you can't do miniatures because no one can do miniatures. They're expensive, and you definitely can't pre-paint them. Like manufacturers, not publishers, but like manufacturers, people who like you give them money and they make the stuff. They're like, you can't make this. We won't even quote you. Like, please, somebody just give me. So finally, Panda Manufacturing said, "Hey, yeah, we can make these." And that was kind of before they had gone as big as they are now, especially for Kickstarter projects.
Right.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, oh, we'll sort of use this project as our guinea pig for making like pre-painted miniatures. We've never done it, so if you're cool with that.
So this
So I
was
was
the
like,
first game that Panda had done pre-painted miniatures for.
yeah.
Okay.
At least to my knowledge, at that time they hadn't done
Okay.
pre-painted miniatures, and so they said, yeah, well, the process might take longer than normal, and I don't know, like we can't promise the results, but we're willing to work with you if you're willing to work with us, and so okay, so I got my quote, and it was going to be ridiculously expensive. So like my goal was I want to make 1,000 copies of Zaya and not owe money.
Right.
So we had the goal was to do that I needed $100,000, which at that time on Kickstarter it was like for the first week all the comments were, this game looks really cool, but there's no way you can hit $100,000. That's not possible. So it was just like,
Oh wow.
I like went to bed every night feeling like I needed to throw up. I mean, it was my wife was like, "What are you doing? This is like," it was very emotional. Like,
Wait, so this is after it's launched on Kickstarter,
yeah,
and
for the
these
first,
are backers telling you this, or
yeah, people would back it and go, "Man, I really hope we get there, but there's no way you can get $100,000. That's insane." And I mean, now Kickstarter's cleared 2 million, or it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But like back then, it was like you can't do that. And so yeah, and then when we finally did, it was man, what a relief. And we ended up doing a lot better than that, and we ended up ordering like 6,000 copies with our first print run, which was just amazing. And then yeah, so that's kind of the
Cool.
genesis for Zaya.
Well, yeah, and it's obvious that you've taken your time as far as component quality and stuff. I mean, you got metal coins, pre-painted miniatures, like you said, and then I mean, you got quality cardboard and stuff and everything. I sound like I'm doing an advertisement, but when you get a game that's got really good quality stuff in it, it's not always the case. When you sometimes you'll see, they skimped on this piece or whatever. It doesn't feel like that with any of this, which probably has a lot to do with the success of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the money I got from the Kickstarter, I just kept putting it back into better components, just because, like, I'm not trying to make money. It was just like, let's just make it the best game we possibly can, and yeah. So that's been a little bit interesting just in the post Kickstarter because it's so expensive to manufacture that I can't distribute it through regular distribution, at least like. And I wouldn't make any money.
Right.
So like I've been acting as my own distributor. So like retailers will email me and go, we saw your game. It looks amazing. How can we get a hold of it? I said, well, I can send you some copies.
Right.
So yeah, so that's been interesting. And then I sell direct on Amazon. So that's like been my primary sales channel is Amazon. So yeah, it's a different.
I was gonna say, Cody, just as far as like production goes, I don't know, maybe this is like, if you don't want to answer this is fine, but obviously the cardboard space tiles that you use are like kind of a strange shape. Does it cost more to get those type of shapes cut and done than it would just for like a standard shape, or?
No, so actually, at least the way that Panda Manufacturing does it is you pay for a die cut. So like they have a machine that basically they'll take whatever size your cardboard is and then they'll press it down and it cuts it.
Right.
Kind of like a giant cookie cutter. So they don't care. They say we charge you X amount for a die cut.
So it doesn't really matter the shape, like or anything like
the
that.
shape doesn't really matter in that sense. I mean, if you just go with squares, then that's going to be a lot cheaper because they have like standard sizes of die cuts already for squares.
Yeah.
And probably for hexagons, they have like if oh well, I want to go with Settlers of Catan size. Okay, we already have that die cut, so they can just
Yeah.
punch them out. So it's kind of like playing Tetris with when you're manufacturing because it's like okay, I can fit this size of cardboard in my box, and I want to make these tiles. So how many pieces of cardboard do I have to have, and
Yeah.
how few of die cuts can I get? So can I get everything spread out over? So like with Zaya, I've got 7 pieces of cardboard, but they each use the same die cut. So I'm
Yeah.
able to spread out all my components with only having one die cut. But that took like a lot of like playing around with the different shapes. Like even physically, I just set them down on a piece of cardboard the same size and like, how can I get these to fit?
That's actually pretty fascinating. I'm going to go back and rewatch my unboxing now because like I didn't even realize that when I was pulling it out. But that's pretty crazy to think about. It explains why there were a couple of blank circles, though.
Yep. Yeah, that's why in a lot of games it's like, what do I do with these white things?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Okay.
and so that's the reason why there's white components in a lot of board games is because it's like, well, we only need this many tokens, and otherwise it costs X amount of dollars to have another die cut. So it's better to have like 2 or 3 blanks than to have to make a custom like, okay, well this
Sure.
die cut is for tokens, this one's for these, and this is so that's
That makes sense.
yeah,
Well,
kind of fun.
let's talk about the current Kickstarter a little bit too. So one of the cool things about Zaya that I noticed is that obviously it's got a ton of fans, and I've never seen a game where people were so willing, like they created house rules for this game, and it didn't bother them that they were having to do that, or that they felt like they had to do it. Movement was one of the ones that a lot of people use a house rule for. Trading was another one. But the cool thing with this Kickstarter is you've actually listened to a lot of your fans, and you've gone about adjusting some stuff that you thought maybe, talk about that process, like figuring out what you wanted to adjust and what you were going to keep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like, for me, one of the things I love about video games is like the modability. So like, I love playing like Skyrim and Fallout, and it's like, oh, you're encouraged to like make mods. So it's like, oh, now you can ride the dragons around or do all these crazy things because it's a sandbox. Like the fun is playing with the components, however you feel like it. And so that's sort of been the spirit behind Zaya all along. Is like I'm like going into it, I knew like, wow, this is a really fun universe, and like my mind just goes crazy. Like I could do a million different things here, like, but I need to fit something in a box. So I've got to just do one rule set, right? And then sort of encourage people like, hey, I released so like all the templates for all the cards and all the ship mats and the tiles. You can download them all from my website. I've got a dev kit on Board Game Geek, so you can download or not download. You can purchase blank tiles and make your own stuff. So like I've really encouraged like, hey, like go and make something cool, and I want it to work seamlessly with the. So like the tiles are the exact same cardboard. If you buy them on Board Game Geek, they're the exact same cardboard that Panda makes for the regular one. So you can paste on your stuff on the front, and then the back is exactly the same, so you can't see them coming up in the stack differently.
It's probably
so
what I
like,
should do with these prototype tiles.
Yeah.
I've got the prototype tiles like this right now,
Sure.
and that's a bit of a pain to deal with. I'll need to get a dev kit. I hadn't thought about that. Okay,
I
sorry,
know a
go
lot
ahead.
of people have done that, but yeah. So like, sort of the idea was, sort of have your own fun with it. So I think that's one of the reasons why people have been cool with like house ruling stuff. Like, hey, let's change this one little aspect that bothers us. And it's weird because Zaya is such an open game. I don't know. Should I explain Zaya just in a nutshell?
Yeah, absolutely, by all means.
All right, so if you don't know what Zaya is, basically in Zaya, everybody starts out as the captain of their own small, like crappy little starship, and then you get to outfit it with like blasters or shields, missiles, engines. You kind of get to customize your ship however you want. So maybe you want to be a merchant where you're going to like pick up and deliver, kind of like buy and sell cargo, or maybe you're going to be a pirate and you're going to go hunt down other players. There's NPCs that sort of fly around and have their own little agendas. Like there's a scoundrel who's a pirate, and he'll attack you unless you are an outlaw. Then he'll be your friend, and you can go hunt down other good people. Um, there's the board is randomly generated every time. There's tiles that, as we were talking about, are kind of strangely shaped hexagons that interlock with each other, and so like every time you play, the map is different, and maybe trade routes that were there one round or one game are going to be gone the next game. There's no trading, and it's all just like asteroid fields and nebulas. So there's a lot of like changing dynamic, and the sort of heart of the game is that it's a sandbox. So I wanted a game that where you don't feel like, okay, well I've got to follow this specific track, and this is how you win. The idea is you're kind of like a captain of your own ship at the edge of the universe, and like how do you want to be a captain? Do you want to be like a good guy, a bad guy, somewhere in between? And there's a lot of different routes to winning. So that's sort of Zaya in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And yeah, so as far as listening for the expansion, yeah, there were a lot of people who were like, well, this is like the trade route. Going as a merchant can be often a very powerful strategy, and with the sandbox nature of the game, like different people's play groups play the game totally different. Where some people are like, it's a passive like pick up and deliver game, and others it's just a battlefield, and so like depending on how you play, certain aspects will appear stronger. Or it's like, oh, if you just play as a combat game, it's like, man, this ship's way overpowered because, you know, it's the best at combat or whatever. And then other people who only play like merchant, they'll be like, this ship's you can't play with this ship because this one like is really good at trading. And so like to balance the game is really interesting. It's
Sure.
a challenge. So we sort of have been listening. Like here's a lot of the feedback from Board Game Geek, and specifically, and I get a lot of like direct emails from people who are like, hey, I love your game. Here's how we play it, which has been really cool. So I've sort of taken a lot of those things and stewed on it, and I initially did not want to do an expansion. Like I was done with the game when the Kickstarter was done. Like we released all the mods or all the templates and stuff, and people can make the game whatever they want. And just over the past, I think it's been 3 years now, people have been like, hey, we'd really love like more ships, and we'd really like to have a bigger universe to explore. And so I've been thinking about that, and yeah, so I had some ideas that I thought would be really fun. So that's sort of why we're at doing this Kickstarter now, because we've sort of brought some of those ideas to fruition. So.
Cool. Very
What
cool.
what kind of new variations and stuff are you bringing into it from the Kickstarter then, Cody?
Yeah, so like one of the cool things that I really love is the events deck. So now there's a deck of events that will come out as you play, similar to the yellow title cards. So as you advance on the Fame Point track, you're going to pull out these new events. And events could be anything from like, oh, now there's this dread pirate lord who's going to go down and hunt everybody, and you've got to sort of work together to destroy him. Or now there's like the entire system has wormholes everywhere. So now traveling is really easy, except every time you travel you have to roll, and if you roll the one, all the wormholes close and everyone and you die. So it's like these sort of like game-changing events. So I wanted like each game to have some like weird dynamic that maybe you've never experienced. So that's one that I'm really excited about. There's new tiles. That's like the #1 requested thing was, hey, we want a bigger system to explore. So there's like 11 new tiles now. So there's 3 new types of areas you can go to, different sectors. So there's like dead worlds. So the star system that you're exploring has like recently the star has started to die, and it's caused like all these strange, mysterious things to happen. Like everything's getting very cold. So these planets that were once thriving very recently are now like dead husks. And you can go and you can scavenge from the remains of these, and you can get a bunch of good stuff. But it's really in limited quantities. There's ice and ice damage now. So there's like comets that fly around that are made of ice and they'll destroy your ship. There's ice damage, which if you get it in your ship, it'll slowly spread until your ship freezes and dies.
Which, by the way, has been added to the exploration tokens. And I just want you to know, Cody, I don't know what it is with me, but yesterday I was playing a 2-player game of this, and I pulled ice damage out of the exploration tokens 4 different times, and my opponent pulled it no times. So that's a lot of fun. Because, Georgie, the thing with ice damage is that at the end of your turn, it spreads. So basically, wherever it is, all adjacent parts of your ship get ice damage at the end of your turn if you haven't repaired it before then. So it's a lot of fun to deal with.
It's really cool. And it's fun because it's really scary, but also if you just get to a planet and land, then you thaw and all of the ice damage melts off.
Oh, wait. I think I was playing it wrong. So I don't have to pay to repair it. It just goes away.
Yeah, it just repairs for free. So
okay, great.
It's really dangerous if you get stuck out at the edge of space, but if you can manage to make it to a planet, it's free and it melts. So that's a really fun one. We've got one of the things I'm really excited about.
She says, "Hey, Cody."
Hello. Hi.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. So we've got some modifications. So they're like these little squares that you can put on top of outfits or in your hold that add just a lot more customizing your ship. So before there were just 4 types of things that you could do with your ship, and these mods make it so that you can kind of more specialize in certain things. So if you just want to like focus on missions, you can get a mission computer, and now you can take on even more missions than you could. Or if you wanted to go with like a mining or harvesting strategy, you can get like a special kind of mod that blocks against environmental damage and makes you a better miner. There's one of the big things is that in Xayah it's roll and move, and that was something that was really controversial. And for me, like in the base game, it is roll and move, but I felt like there was a lot of mitigation. You get free movement with impulse. You can activate an engine up to 3 times. So like in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is plenty of mitigation. Like if you roll poorly, you just spend an energy and roll again, and you can like up to 3 rolls on a turn seems like enough, but that was one thing that fans were like, hey, this still isn't enough mitigation. So we added in a new mod called the GTS, which helps with low dice rolls. So you can add those onto your engine. It basically just increases the stability of your rolls, which is something that, like, I think that alone, people would have, like, if you just did that as an expansion, that would be enough for a lot of people. So I think
$300,000 just for that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. Some people who were maybe originally turned off by Xayah's roll and move, and I think if they play it again with the expansion, they would find that, wow, this is totally mitigated, and I can strategize and plan ahead enough that I feel like it's not so random. So.
As far as that roll and move mod, the GTS mod that you put in there, I thought the choice to go with instead of, because like the obvious choice is you stick this on and it's just +2 to whatever you roll. That's like the obvious choice, but instead you made it where, all right, if you have 1 on there, then if you roll a 1 or a 2, that counts as a 3 now. And then everything else, 3 and up, is just like it always was. But you put 2 on there, now your minimum roll is 5. I think that's how it works, right?
That is how it works right now. And,
every time? Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still playing with that. Like, we've got a design doc. Me and I'm working alongside Ira Fay, who's co-designing. He started in he emailed me when I announced I was working on this. He said, "Can I do the solo stuff?" And I said, "Well, I'm not planning on doing solo." And he showed me his sort of track record, and I was like, "Wow, you want to? Okay, sure, yeah, you can design a solo experience." So that's something that a lot of people really wanted, and I didn't feel I had the knowledge to do well a solo experience, and so I'm really excited that he's been doing that. And then since then, we've been working together on just everything else. So we have a design doc that we work together. So the GTS is we're actually looking at doing another revision on Monday. But yeah, we're trying to hone in. But the idea is that yeah, beating dice mitigation, but we want it to be a little bit interesting, so it's not just as flat. Here's
Not
your
right.
board.
Well, real quick, what's your favorite event that you have in the deck right now, or
Oh
maybe your
man.
favorite event that we don't know about yet?
Um, let's see. Gosh, I really like all the events. Like I made a ton of events, and then we had to whittle it down. So I put in 18 events,
Oh wow.
and then we've just through the Kickstarter campaign, we're adding in 4 more events, and 3 of those are going to be fan suggested. I mean, we're going to take the suggestions. That's what I'm doing after this, is going through all the suggestions and trying to pull out 3 new events. So that'll be fun to look through those. As far as a favorite, I don't know. I'm really excited for the one that was just unlocked, which is a giant comet that spawns,
Rikishi.
and it's
Yeah.
Rikishi the comet, and it basically just stomps around the map and just crushes everybody in front of it. So I think that'll be really fun.
What happens to planets that it goes over? Because that was actually a question I just saw posted on BGG.
Yeah, so currently it just basically it's flying over that area. So it's not like crashing into the planet. It's just flying over that area, and it blocks any spaces underneath it. So like if there's a buy and sell space that is currently under like meteor shower, and you cannot buy and sell there. Some people want it to like crash into a planet and then destroy the planet, and that's really cool. I don't know that is like if it was a video game, there's some things you can do that are like I want everything that we do to be really clean and to play smoothly, and so like I don't know that that's something that's possible within the design constraints without making it super janky. But,
yeah. You definitely have to balance that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the chances are that it would just destroy like half the map. And some people would be like, this is great. Well, other people would be like, well, that's my whole game plan out the window because a lot of them, and now I can't trade. So, but yeah, I see it might be kind of difficult to make it. I mean, to be fair though, in the world of like a sandbox game.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, well, I mean, as long as it's done consistently, almost anything can be fair for everybody. But whether it's actually fun or just like, because some things are like really fun in your head, but once you get them on the table and like you can explain it, it's like that's gonna be awesome, and then when you play it, you go, that sucked. It was like the idea is cool, but it wasn't fun. So that's always
or even fun once or twice, and then when it happens more than that, then it's like, oh, this again.
Yeah, because I mean, I really want it to be a game where like the hope would be that it would be a game where it would have a long tail as far as like this is something I want in my collection. It provides a certain aspect that I really love, and it's not a like some games are really fun the first time and the second time, and then like the more you play them, the less fun they get because they do the same thing over and over, or like when that thing comes out, it's like so that's one thing with the events that I've tried to like I want them to be I want them to have a long life where it's not like okay, well we just don't even play with the events now. Like we played with them once and it was fun, but now they're not fun. So I want them to be designed with an eye towards the future and that sense. So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. Okay, well, I think we're getting about time to potentially wrap the show up now. But just before we do, Baker, do you want to actually let's go with Cody first. Cody, do you want to give us some shameless plug-in and tell us about your Kickstarter and everything else just before you go?
Yeah, so you can find my Kickstarter. The easiest is probably just to go to Google and type in Zaya Embers of a Forsaken Star, or you can just type in Zaya Embers Kickstarter, and it'll pop up. If you find us on Board Game Geek, just type in Zaya, and it'll be one of the top things in the search. You can find me on Twitter at FarOffGames. You can follow me on Twitter, and Facebook is, I think, Facebook.com/FarOffGames or groups FarOffGames, something like that. I'm really good at these plugs. You can find all that stuff if you just go to www.faroffgames.com. So Far Off Games, basically.
Right. So basically, what he said is, if you look hard enough, you might find him.
You might.
Baker, give us a little sign off.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Board Offline. I've, of course, got my YouTube channel, Board Online, Board Offline. The first board is the bad kind. The second board is the one you play. Yeah, those are my main places. I've got a guild over on BGG, and we're up to 13 members, so you could be the 14th. Go over there and win my appreciation.
Guilds
and,
don't work.
Yeah, guilds are well, but see, I think they're required, but also they don't do much. But of course, I don't know. Maybe I'll make it to 100 one day, and then I'll know that I've finally arrived. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all the places you can find me.
And as usual, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Beards and Board Games. You can follow me on Twitter at Beards and Boards. And other than that, I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you guys so much.
Ciao.